chapter, Material Cost and Inventory Valuation. From this chapter, we're going to see how can we value the material and the cost of the inventory. Now, there is a lot of explanation or anything we have here for the example, but mainly what we need to understand from this chapter, as we discussed last week as well, there is some way, there is some formula we have to use in order to decide how can we order the best quantity for the company. For example, let's say if you work for a company, and if the company said you are the person who will be responsible for ordering the raw material. Now if you are responsible for ordering the raw material, so you have to know what is the best quantity that you should order. So let's say if you order 100 kilo, so what will be the impact of that? For example, if you order 100 kilo raw material, maybe the holding cost will be less, but the ordering cost will be higher. Maybe the demand is not that high, you order a lot of quantity at the same time. So there is a lot of reason that you have to consider before we buy the inventories. Number one. Number two is when we value the inventories, there is some formula we used, there is some techniques or method we have to valuation of the inventory that we already discussed last week. We have Lifo, Fifo, and Afko. So today we're going to see how actually it is work. Now, the first thing we need to know, when we order a inventory, what is the relevant cost there? Let's say if you decided to order inventory, the first thing is the purchase cost. So how much will be the purchase cost of this raw material? Number one. Number two, the delivery cost, that is called cost of ordering. If I order 100 kilo, how much will be the cost of the delivery? If we order more than 100 kilo, how much will be the cost of the delivery? For example, let's say if you decided to order only one book for your AAT management accounting costing, so the delivery cost will be £3. Now, if you decided to order all the level 3 books at the same time, the delivery cost will be still £3. So you have to consider, should I order only one book or should I order all the books at the same time so that I can save some delivery cost? Now, the next cost we have associate is cost of holding. Let's say you order a lot of quantity at the same time, but the question is, do you have a space? Do you have a space to keep these inventories? So let's say you order a lot of quantity to save the delivery cost, but actually you don't have any space to keep all of this material on the warehouse, and you rent it out another space, and you have a holding cost for that. So you hire a warehouse, and the warehouse have a cost of holding, so you have to consider that. Now, before you order the raw material, so you think some of the point that might be helpful for you before you actually make the order. For example, the first point we consider, that is demand. So how much is the demand we have in the market? Let's say if I buy a raw material, huge quantity, but we don't have enough demand in the market, so the raw material will be in the stock for a long time, and that will increase a lot of holding cost. Now, buying a lot of material, raw material at the same times, there is some advantage as well. For example, if you tell your manager, I want to buy 100 kilo of raw material at the same time rather than buying 20 kilo each time. Now, if your manager asks you, what is the reason you want to buy a lot of raw material at the same times? So you will tell, that will save me the delivery cost, that will save me the demand shortage. For example, if there is a higher demand in the market, so I don't have to wait for the delivery, so I can use from the stock. So that will help me to determine that. And maybe if I buy large quantity at the same times, I will receive some bulk discount. So sometimes if the quantity is really big, if you buy a lot of product at the same time, the supplier can give you some trade discount and the bulk discount. So the supplier can say, if you buy the large quantity, I will give you some more discount. So that could be the reason I can order a lot of quantity at the same time. But the disadvantages we already discussed, that is maybe the market demand is not really high, or maybe we don't have enough space to keep all this material. So all of this thing is relevant to the ordering process, and there is some formula that will tell us the best possible way or to maximize the ordering policy. So let's say there is a model that is called EOQ, economic order quantity. So if we use this model, that will consider all the factors that we have discussed. So EOQ will discuss the cost of ordering, the cost of holding, and the demand. And after that, considering all of this, the EOQ will tell you you should order this number of quantity, and that will maximize your profit for the company. So let's have a look. The first point we have inventory cost and control. So we have, there are many different costs that can be occur if a business keeps inventory. This need to be controlled and kept in minimum. Holding cost and the ordering cost. So this is the two major costs we have. That's why we want to keep the inventory in a minimum level. So holding cost, we already know the insurance cost, the rent of the warehouse, the security, and obviously there might be some wastage. If we hold the raw material for long time, there is a possibility some of the raw material will be waste. So that will bring some cost for the company. The next one we have the ordering cost. For example, admin cost associated with placing an order, transport inward cost. So inward cost means the delivery cost. So that type of cost will be relevant to the inventory. Now, the first activity or first exercise we have, that is holding the inventory. So this question is asking which of the following are the reasons for holding inventory. Tick all those that are valid reason. So they're asking if we hold the inventory in the stock, what could be the logic behind. So if the manager asks you, or if your partner or director asks you why you holding a lot of material, so what could be the possible answer for that person? So valid possible answer. So let's look at the first one. The first one is said to avoid production stoppage due to shortage of material. So if you think it is a valid reason, you can consider that. The next one we have to take advantage of quantity discount. So if we buy more, we will receive some quantity discount. Do you think it is a valid reason? Then to avoid detrimental effect of the price fluctuation. So maybe the price of the raw material can go up. So that's why I'm buying something in advance. So if you think it is a valid reason, we can consider that. And to provide a buffer or fail safe in time of a general shortage or heavy demand. So that could be a sudden demand in the market. So you want to keep some stock in the warehouse. So if the demand is high, we can use this inventory to fulfill the demand. So what we think, which one is the valid reason? So of course, the first one we can say is a valid reason. There is no doubt for that. So shortage of the material. So this is the one. Number two, we can get a discount. Yes, that's true. Then price fluctuation. Yes, the price can go up. So that's why we want to hold some material and to fulfill the demand. So we can understand this all the possible reason we have, and because of all of those reason, we try to keep some inventory on our stock. All of you have the right answer. Very well done, Mohammed. Very well done, Luis. Very well done, Sharon. This all of the right answer. All right, let's move on to our next point. That one we have just in time or JIT, inventory control techniques. This one is a Japanese techniques, and most of the company in Japan they follows JIT techniques. It says some organization operate in just-in-time inventory system with a JIT system. Supply are recorded and delivered just as they are needed for production, and goods are manufactured just as they are needed for sale. Inventory is therefore kept a minimum, and the system rely on accurate forecasting and reliable supplier. Very, very important. If you don't want to keep too much material on the warehouse, or if you think my holding cost will be more, I want to save some holding cost, maybe you can use JIT. Now, the disadvantage of the JIT is the supply need to be reliable. For example, if you call your supplier and you said, tomorrow I need 10 kilo of raw material, and the supplier said, I don't have any stock. So you will be shortest to fulfill your demand. So your supply need to be reliable, and your forecast has to be very, very accurate. For example, if you think next month you will sell 100 units, so you want to make 100 unit. Maybe the demand is really high and you need more than 100 units, so you need 150 unit. So for any reason, if the forecasting is not very accurate, so you can be shortage of the demand. And especially there is another problem if the country's delivery system is not really fast. So if there is a possibility like you order something and the delivery can go like delays, so if there is a possibility of that, so for that countries the JIT system will not be the suitable system. So where the delivery system is really good, where the transport is really good, you can maybe rely on JIT if the supplier is also reliable. Then the next point we have minimum inventory level and buffer inventory. Now the minimum inventory level you understand, so there is a minimum level you want to keep. For example, you said I will be never I will be never below 100 kilo of material. So as soon as the material level come down to 100, I will reorder immediately. So I'll not wait until it's become zero. So you want to keep the minimum inventory level. Now, obviously, the definition here is the minimum level is an inventory level below which the inventory should not normally fall. So this is basically the minimum inventory level. We understand it. There is nothing difficult point here. The next point we have buffer stock, buffer inventory. So basically, in a sense, the minimum inventory, we called it buffer inventory. So it says in most practice, most organization keep a certain amount of inventory in reserve. This is known as buffer inventory. So basically, it's like when you drive a car and when even the petrol is finished, when your oil is finished from the car, but there is something still you have as a reserve, and that is called buffer inventory. For even for the company, for the organization, even the product in the warehouse is finished, is run out, but still they keep something as a backup plan, as a reserve. We called it buffer inventory. The next point we have lead time. The lead time is the time between the placing the order for inventory and receiving the inventory. So for example, if I order today and if I receive after 5 days, so my lead time is 5 days. So from the day I place the order and the day I receive the delivery, between the distance, the time is called lead time. Then we have some formula to learn. You have to remember this formula because this formula will not be given in the exam. So you have to memorize it. Every time if you see somewhere is written formula to learn, that means you have to memorize this formula because this formula will not be given in the exam. So this formula, let's write it down. We will need this formula when we'll do the exercise. So we want to write it down in the corner so that we can see it later on. The first formula we have, number one, that is called minimum inventory level. So minimum inventory level. So the formula here is reorder level minus average uses time average lead time. This is the formula. Reorder level minus average uses times average lead time. So let's move on to the next one. The next one we have reorder level. So reorder level is the level where we should reorder the raw material again. So when it is come down to a certain level, we said that it is a time to reorder the material now. When the level of inventory falls into the reorder level, more inventory should be ordered. It is said to that so that in the theory it is not possible to run out of the inventory based on the maximum use of the inventory and the maximum delivery days or lead time. So the reason we want to do it, we don't want to run out of the inventory, so the reorder level have to be followed. What is the formula we have for the reorder level? So let's check that. Reorder level, that is maximum uses maximum lead time plus buffer stock. So we said reorder level number 2, reorder level maximum uses time maximum lead time plus buffer inventory. All right, so the next one we have here, that is maximum inventory level. There is a formula for that. So maximum inventory level, that is maximum inventory level. So maximum inventory level, that is reorder level plus reorder quantity minus minimum use times minimum lead time. And we have one more, that is average inventory. So the average inventory is minimum inventory plus half of the reorder quantity. This one we can remember if we need it. So let's go down. The reason we write it down in the corner, because when you will do the actual question, maybe we need to see the formula. So you have to remember this formula. All right, so let's try this question, activity 2, inventory control levels. A large retailer with multiple outlet maintain a certain central warehouse from which the outlet are supplied. The following information is available for the part number CV 2005. We have some information. We have average uses, minimum uses, maximum uses, lead time for the replacement, and reorder quantity. There is a 3 requirement here. The first one is what is the reorder level? The next one is what is the minimum inventory level? and maximum inventory level. If we know the formula, it's not difficult, but if you don't remember the formula, this type of question can be very difficult in the exam. So let's try the first one, reorder level. What is the formula we have on the reorder level? So this is the formula number 2. Let's write it down here, reorder level. So we have maximum, so we have a maximum use times maximum lead time and plus buffer inventory. So in this question, we can see the maximum use, we have 420 parts. 420, that's the maximum use. Maximum lead time, we have a 2 lead time. One is 11, one is 15. So which one is the maximum? 15 days is the maximum. So we said 15. And we don't have any buffer inventory in the question. We cannot see any buffer inventory. So we said buffer inventory is 0. So if we do the calculation, that should give us the answer. So 420 times 15, and that should give us how much? 6,300. Very well done. Very well done, Vinal. Very well done, Geno. Very well done, Steven. Yes, 6,300. So this is the first one we have done. The next one we have, that is minimum inventory level. So we need to know the formula, minimum inventory level. So minimum inventory level, so we can see this formula, reorder level. So the first one is a reorder level, then minus average uses, then times average lead time. So reorder level we have already calculated, that is 6,300, then minus average uses is 350, we can have in the question, and average lead time, we don't have average lead time. So all we need to do, we need to add these two and divide by 2. We have a minimum lead time 11 and the maximum lead time is 15. So 11 plus 15 divide 2, that will give us the average lead time. Average means like you adding everything, I'll make average for that. So that will be 13. So we multiply by 13, and that will give us the result for the minimum inventory level, and that is 1750. Very well done, Nila. Very well done, Sharon. 1750. 1750. All right. Then the last one we have, what is the maximum inventory level? So you have to follow the formula, maximum inventory level. So we have this formula here. So maximum inventory level means reorder level plus reorder quantity minus minimum use times minimum lead time. So for the reorder level, we have 6,300 plus reorder quantity, we have 6,500 in the question, minus minimum uses, that is 180 from the question, times minimum lead time, that is 11. 11 is the minimum, maximum is the 15. So if we do that, that should give us the result, and that should be how much? 10,820. So 10,820. 10,820. So you can see this question is all about remembering the formulas. If we remember the formulas, that will not be difficult in the exam. But if we don't remember the formulas, that could be very tricky, because without knowing the formula, we cannot answer this question. All right, so that's all. If anyone have any question from here, you can ask me now, or we can move to the next point. Section 2. You mean the why we have used to 6,300. You mean that one, the number B? What is the minimum inventory level? That question. Well, the minimum inventory level, you can see what is the formula. The formula is reorder level, and the reorder level is the first one we have calculated. This is reorder quantity, or sim, not the reorder level. The reorder level we have calculated here 6,300, and that is reorder quantity. You're welcome, no problem. So we move to the next question. All right, so the next one we have EOQ. This is a wonderful method, and most of the company they follow this method, that is called EOQ, economic order quantity. So the best order you can make by using this economic order quantity. But of course, before that, you have to guess how much will be your demand, how much will be the holding cost, how much will be the ordering cost. This thing you have to know. If you can forecast your demand and if you know your cost, you can exactly set up the quantity that you're going to order every time. So let's look at the formula. So the formula here is look like EOQ, so economic order quantity. On the top we have 2. 2 is from the formula. Then we have CO. CO means cost of ordering. CO means cost of ordering. CO, cost of ordering. Then we have a D. D, this is the demand, but very careful, this demand is for the year, for the whole year. So it is the annual demand, not for the monthly. So we said yearly demand. In the exam, they might give you the demand for the 1 month, so you have to multiply by 12 in order to get the demand for the whole year. The next one we have CH on the bottom, and the CH means cost of holding. CH, cost of holding. This is basically the storage cost. If you keep the raw material in the warehouse, how much will be the cost? So that will tell this amount. And finally, the Q. The Q is the quantity that will tell us how many units we should order when you make the order for the raw material. So let's have a look on of the exercise, and maybe we'll understand more from there. So let's try the activity 3, and let's have a look how can we solve this question. So in this activity, they are saying the demand for a product is 150 unit per month. Demand for a product is 150 per month. So we understand D is here, but not for 1 month. We have to have for the whole year. So 150 times 12, that will give us the demand for the whole year, because we need for the whole year. It costs 25 per unit to purchase the product. This is the purchase of the product, but in this formula we don't need the purchase, but maybe it is relevant to something, we don't know. But for the formula we don't need the purchase cost anyway. The next one we have the fixed cost per order, that's the cost of ordering. So CO, cost of ordering, that is £32. And finally I need the CH, and I can see says the holding cost is 18% of the purchase price. So that means that's the reason they give us 25. So 25 times 18% is basically the cost of holding. And after that, we can use the EOQ formula and we can get the figure for that. So let's do that. On the top, we have 2 times COD. On the bottom, we have CH. Can we get the figure for that? So on the top, we have 2 times cost of ordering, that we have 32. Then we have a demand. How much is the demand? So you have 150 times 12. So we can say times 150 times 12. And on the bottom, we have 25 times 0.18, 18%. And that will tell us exactly how much will be the cost of ordering, how many units we should order, how much will be the EOQ. So how much is the figure here? How many parts we should order? So 160. Make sure on your calculator you have this root over, because if you are not very good with maths, maybe you don't know how to do the root. But if your calculator have a root, that will be very easier for you to calculate the root. So when you use the calculator, make sure you have the root option on your calculator. So I said 160 parts. All right, so that's all for the EOQ. So if you remember the formula, that is 2 times COD divide CH. So CO is the cost of ordering, D is the demand, and CH is the cost of holding. So the question can come in different format, but if you remember the formula, then you can do it easily. Any question from here before we move to the next question? All right, so let's move on to our next topic, that is Lifo, Fifo, and Afko. So Lifo, Fifo, and Afko. So obviously, Lifo is well, the formula will be in the books anyway, so you can get the formula. But you know the formula, that is 2COD. You can see here 2 times COD, that is CH. So you have the explanation of that. 2 is from the formula, CO is the cost of ordering, D is the demand, but demand for the whole year, and CH is the cost of holding. That's it. The root will be in your calculator, Luis, so you have to you have to know how to use the root. So once you've done all the calculation, you just click on the root on your calculator, that will give you the figure. All right, so let's move on to our next area, that is Fifo, Lifo, and Afco. Let's talk about the first one, that is Fifo. Now Fifo is all about first in, first out. First in, first out. So try to understand very carefully. When you when you basically use any technique for the inventory valuation, you have to know you only value the inventory when you actually issue. For example, let's say on 1st of January, on 1st Jan, we buy or receipt, let's say 100 unit, and every unit is £1, so 100 pound is the value. In 2nd of Jan, let's say we buy or receipt another 100 unit, and every unit the price is 2, so 200. So now the total quantity of the inventory, so how many inventory we have? 100 plus 100, that is 200. And how much is the value total? 300. Now let's say if I want to issue, if I want to sell 150 unit, so I said sell 150 unit. Now how much will be the value for issuing this 150 unit? So out of this 150 unit, I have to use two technique. So from the two place, I have to take the inventory. From the 1st of January, we have 100. So I'm going to use all of this first because I'm using Fifo. Right now, we are talking about the Fifo, that is first in, first out. So according to the Fifo, any material I buy earlier, I'm going to issue that one first, then I'll move to the next one. So I have purchased 100 unit on 1st of January. So I'll make sure all 100 is gone. Then I'll move to the next one, that is 2nd of January, another 100 unit. So out of 150, the first 100 I'll take from 1st of January, and the cost was £1. So it is 100. So the first lot is finished now. Then I need another 50. Another 50 I'll take from here, from the 2nd of January. That will be 50 times 2. So it will be 100. So value of the 150 unit will be 200. So we have now 50 unit left from 200. If I minus the 150, so 50 unit will be left, and the value from the 300, if I minus the 200, the value will be left £100 under the FIFO method. That's how it is. So every time if we issue, only that time we're going to be careful which price I'm going to charge. According to the FIFO, anything I purchased earlier, I'm going to use that quantity first, then I'll move to the next one. So all you have to remember, finish the earlier quantity, then move to the next one, because first in, first out. So any quantity or any material that I have purchased in first, that will be issued first as well. So this is basically FIFO. Let's move on to the next one. The next one will be the LIFO. Now, according to the Lifo, this is the opposite of FIFO. LIFO is banned in few countries. So some of the countries we have in Europe and Asia, you are not allowed to use to value your inventory for the by using the LIFO. There is some reason, because if you use LIFO, what happened? You might make your inventory more valuable. For example, we know like the value of the inventory always increase day by day. For example, if I buy January 10 kg material for £10, maybe in December after 12 months, this 10 kg material will be 12, like £12, not 10 and 10 anymore. So within a year, maybe £2 will be increased for 10 kg material. So the price will go up. So if I use the LIFO, what will happen? So I'm charging from the immediate cost, and that will basically make me the more issuing cost. The next one is basically Afco. Now Afco is basically is is not LIFO or FIFO. So it's not which one you buy first and not LIFO which one you buy last. Afco is kind of the average. Now average means before you issue, you make an average and you sell. For example, if we try to use this example again, and this time let's say we are going to use Afco but not FIFO or LIFO. So let's try with Afco. Now if it is Afco, we are not looking at which unit we have purchased before, which unit we have purchased later. We do not look at that if we do the Afco. So let's say we have a 200 unit and the cost for the 200 unit is 300 pound. So what we'll do, we just divide with that to find the average. So 300 divide 200, that will give you the average per unit. So I said 300 divide 200, that's 1.5, 1.5 per unit. Now let's say if I want to issue 150 unit, so issue 150 unit, that will be multiplied by 1.5. So that will be how much? 1.5 times 150, that's 225. So every single method will give you the different issuing value. So when we used FIFO, you can see that was 200 the cost. Now as soon as we switch the method, as soon as we're using the Afco, we can see now the valuation is 225. So let's say after this, if I buy something again here, if there is a purchase or receipt here again, let's say 100 unit, and every unit is 3, so 300. So what will happen, it will be added with the remaining. So we have 50 unit here left and the value left is 75. So we said now we have 150 unit and the value will be 375. So that's how we can carry on all this method. It's just the idea. We'll do some exercise, we'll understand more, but that's how is the inventory valuation system work: FIFO, LIFO, and Afco. So FIFO is using the first one first, and the LIFO is the last one first, and the Afco is basically the average value we take. So let's have a look what we have here. There is some example here. There is some advantage of disadvantages. So let's quickly look the advantages and disadvantages of FIFO. In the exam, most likely the FIFO question come, and sometimes is Afco come as well, not the LIFO. LIFO is hardly tested in the exam. It is logical pricing method which probably represent what is physically happening. In practice, the oldest inventory is likely to be used first. That's true. For example, even if we buy something from the supermarket, what they have already in the shelf, they try to keep all this in the front so that people, the customer, you and me, can buy the old product first, because the old one going to be expired soon. So any new delivery come, they try to keep in the behind, because that one have a long expire date. So FIFO is used by most of the company. It is easy to understand and explain to the manager. FIFO also comply with IS2 accounting standard, so can be used for inventory valuation in financial accounting. So IS2 is the valuation method. We will do IS2 later on. We'll see what is the feature we have for the IS2. Then it's the closing inventory value will probably be similar to its replacement cost. Okay. What is the disadvantage of the FIFO? So the FIFO can be cumbersome to operate because of need to identify each batch of material separately. So you have to find some disadvantage as well. They're saying like we have to keep the batch separately. Maybe it will be difficult. like to keep the tracks, which one we buy first, after that which one, after that which one. And manager may find it difficult. Maybe manager will not understand the method very easily. That could be one of the disadvantages of using the FIFO. All right, there is a Lifo as well. This is the theory part out, so you can read yourself the theory. We'll move to the exercise that will help us to understand more, because in the exam, in the level 3, we don't expect any theoretical question. You don't have to type too much here. So you have to do mainly the exercise question. Okay, so let's move on to this question. Okay, so let's read this question here. It says the demand for a product is 150 unit per month. So there is a product. This is the company CCS Limited. The demand for a product is 150 unit per month. CCS Limited is a new business that has only been established since March 2009. The company makes a small range of specialized organic soup that is sold to supermarket and independent retailer. Price of all the ingredient that the company has to buy are increasing. So this is the point. Price of all the ingredients that the company has to buy are increasing. So value of the raw material is increasing day by day. So that means whatever I buy maybe last month, this month the price is increasing. Bearing this in mind, CCS would like to use the inventory issue and valuation method that give the highest reported profit in the first year of trading. So this is very important thing to understand. They're saying they want to use the valuation inventory method that will give them the higher profit at the first year, because they're new in the business. And of course, if they're new in the business, so they want to show some more profit at the first year. So which method they give more profit at the first year? Now let's quickly go back to the maybe the exercise again, and just have a look for the same question. Maybe I'm not sure they have the profit here or not. There is some reason why some inventory valuation method give you more profit. So you can see here, the first one for the FIFO, the value of the closing inventory, how much? So 200 unit left, and the value is 450. So the closing inventory value is 1916. If I use the FIFO, the closing inventory value is 1916. Now if I go to the next one, the Lifo, closing inventory value is 1916. And if you go to the Afco, the closing inventory value is 1916. So any method you use, at the end your cost is same anyway. But the problem is happen when you have the opening inventory and the closing inventory, and that time the profit statement could be fluctuate because of the inventory valuation method. Now you can see the closing inventory 440 if I use the Afco. Let's write it down, because I want all of you to understand that not much, just little bit. So if I use the Afco, the value of the closing inventory is 440. And then if I go to the Lifo, the closing inventory value is 410. So Lifo 410. And if I use the FIFO, the closing inventory value is 452. You might think the company paid the money, whatever method they use, it will be same. You are right, but that will have impact on the next year. At the first year, you can fluctuate the profit if you like. So we can see if I use the Afco, the closing inventory will be 440. If I use the Lifo, the closing inventory will be 410. And if I use the Fifo, the closing inventory value will be 452. So closing inventory have the more value using the Fifo. Now let's try to understand how is it work if I use for the profit statement. So let's say I have a profit statement, and here I'm using all these three methods. Let's say Fifo, Lifo, and Afco. And I said I have a cell. Cell is 1000 for all three methods. And from the cells, we minus the cost of cells. So we said less cost of cells. Now you have to know what is cost of cells. I'm not sure all of you know it or not. The cost of cells is a formula. In the cost of cells, we have opening inventory plus purchase and less closing inventory. Opening inventory plus purchase and less closing inventory. Now, for example, let's say you have opening inventory 100, let's say 500. Opening inventory 500, 500, and 500. Purchase, let's say 100, 100, and 100. And now we're going to use the closing inventory that we have calculated under these three methods. So let's say for the FIFO, my closing inventory was 452. So let's write it down. 452. Under the Lifo, it is 410, and under the Afco, it is 440. So let's find the cost of sales now for all of this. The first one, we have 600 minus 452. So 600 minus 452, that gives me cost of sales 148. The next one, 600 minus 410, that gives me the cost of sales 190. The last one is 600 minus 440, that gives me 160, the cost of sales. And how we calculate the profit? The profit will be sales minus cost of sales. So I'll minus the cost of sale from the sale. So I said 1000 minus 148. 1000 minus 148, that gives me 852 profit. Then 1000 minus 190, that gives me profit 810. And 1000 minus 160, that gives me profit 840. So now you can see, by using all of this technique, which one gives me higher profit? The FIFO, that's the higher profit we have. So all the thing I have just showed to you just to make you understand, because the question give you the hints like use the techniques that will give you the higher profit. So basically you should have some idea like how FIFO give you the higher profit. So that's the reason I break it down everything, so that things make you clear very well how the FIFO have impact on the higher profit. Later on, you will have a more explanation for the inventory valuation, but for the time being, you should have no different inventory valuation, the profit will be different. All right, so let's move on to our question and complete the task they give it to us. Yes, go on. Yes, you can ask the question, Nazia. There is no problem. All right. So the first one we have, would unless closing inventory would unless closing inventory value will have the higher profit. Well, the less closing inventory will not have a higher profit. The reason is you need to think from the opposite point of view, because the closing inventory you minus from the cost. For example, if your cost is, let's say your purchase is 1000, and from 1000 if your closing inventory is 500, so you minus closing inventory from the cost. So closing inventory actually you minus from the cost, so you bring down your cost. So if your closing inventory is more, actually what will happen, it will reduce your cost and that will increase your profit. So let's say your sales is 2000, and if I said my cost is 500, so actually my profit is 1500. Now if I make it down, let's say if I said is 400, the closing inventory 400, so my cost will be increased by 600 and my profit will go down by 1400. So more your closing inventory, more is your profit. Um, Vinol, you said this is possible only in the situation wherein price ingredients are increasing. If the price of the ingredients are decreasing, well, Vinol, um, it is a normal practice. Like the price of the product always going up. So if the price of the product goes really down, maybe on that case you have impact on the closing inventory of using FIFO. You are right, but in the exam you will hardly see the price of the product goes down, because normally it's not happen. The price of the product or ingredients day by day, the value is always increase, not decrease. uh, what is your question, Nazia? Wouldn't the opening balance also different for yes, because opening balance will be different depend on the question, Nazia, because we don't have any opening balance for this question and we don't want to write any amount. So we just said we don't have an opening inventory, we keep everything empty. We want to see the impact because of the value of the closing inventory, not for the opening inventory, because this opening inventory will be the this closing inventory will be the opening inventory for the next month. So whatever is the closing for this period will be the opening for the next period. So which method are you going to write here? Identify the method that would achieve this. So which method will give us the higher profit based on all the analysis we have done so far? So based on our analysis, we can see if we use the FIFO, that will give us the higher profit. All right, so that's fine. That's fine. So let's move on to the question. Let's do this one together. Now we're going to use the FIFO in this table. In the exam, of course, you have to choose it from the drop down list. You don't have to write yourself. But of course, here we have to write. The first, we have opening balance. We can see we have 72 unit on the warehouse on the stock, and the value of the 72 unit is 10,512. That is 1st of January. On 2nd of June, sorry, 1st of June. So 2nd of June, we receipt. We have a two thing. Remember, receipt and issue. We only value the inventory when we issue. If I receipt it, I just record it on the record card. But remember, only when I issue, when I receive on the warehouse, I don't have to worry. I know the cost, I just record on the cost card. But when I issue, I give it to someone, That time I have to make the value of the inventory. So we can see we received 70 on 2nd of June, and per ton is 150. So 70 times 150, the total is 10,500. So we had already before 72, and we receive another 70 unit. So that will give us 142 unit total. And the value for the 72, the value was 10,512. And for new 70 we have purchased, that value is 10,500. So that gives me total value of the material is 21,012. Now on 3rd of June, there is an issue. On 3rd of June, we issue 90. We issue 90 by using the formula Fifo. So this 90 I'm going to issue from 142 unit. Now the question is, the first batch we have 72, so I'm going to use this 72 first, and anything remaining I'll choose from the next lot. So I'm going to use the first 72. So also I'm going to use this 72, and the cost will be, of course, whatever it is, 10,512. And how many we need? So if I have already 72, I need 18 more. So this 18, I'm going to charge how much per unit? 150. Very well done, Nazia. So 150. And that will give me the cost how much? 18 times 150. Can you get the cost for that? 1200. Okay, 1200. So how much will be the total cost here? So 70 plus 18, that will give you 90, 90 unit. And the cost of the 90 unit will be how much? So 10, is it how much it is? 11,712 or 1200? How much is the cost for 150 unit? So 150 times 18. So 18 times 150, that is 2,700. How much it is? Okay. So 2,700. So 2,700. So that will be total how much? Plus 10,512, 13,212. 13,212. So this is the issuing value for this 90 unit. Any question from here for for anyone? It's okay, Nazia. So any question anyone have before we move to the next step? So all you need to do, you need to write the 90 unit cost here. So I said 72 times whatever it is, that is 146 maybe per unit from here, from the top one, and another 18, that will be 150, and that will give us the total cost 13,212. So that's it. Now we need to know, if we use 90 from 142, so how many unit left? 142 minus 90, that will give us the quantity left. So we have 52. And how much will be the value left? So we minus 13,212 from this 21,012. So how much will be the cost left for this 52 unit? 21,012 minus 13,212. So that will give you 7,800. Very well done. Very well done, Adele. Then the next point, on 4th of June, we buy another 50 unit. Okay, so 50 plus 52, that will give us how many unit here? 102. And how much is the cost we have? So 50 times 152, how much will be the cost for that? 7,600. Okay, so can we add this 7,600 with this to find the total cost? This one we added here 50. So that will give you 15,400. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, Osim. Thank you, Tidora. Then finally, on 5th of June, we have sold another 70 unit. We need 70. So we have a two portion here, that is 52 and 50, isn't it? So we need 70. So this 70 should have a breakdown of 52, and the cost is 7,800 for that. And we need, how many we need? If you have 52, then we need 18, and the cost will be 152. 152. How much it is? 18 times 152, 2736. Thank you, Nazia. 2736. And if I added this to, how much it is? So if I added this to, that is 80. It is, sorry, I have a different figure from everyone. So if I have 7,800 plus 27 and 36, what is the total here? 10,536. Thank you, Nazia. And if I minus this from our 15,400, so minus from here, that will give me the remaining value. So the here it will be 70 minus, so 102 minus 70, that will give you 32 unit left, and the value left will be 4864. 4864. And here this 70, I'm going to say 52, that will be 150 per unit, and another 18, that will be 152, isn't it? So the total will be 10,536. So we can see, before we basically issue, we have to see what valuation we're going to do. Every time if we receive, there is no problem, but when we issue, we need to see, we use the first order, whatever we already had. So we completely used the first delivery, then we move to the next delivery. So anything I received, I already have some stock. So I issue all of this first, then I move to the next lot, then I move to the next lot, then I move to the next lot. Because every lot, if I order, I have a different cost for that. All right, take a minute and just let me know if you have any question before we move to the next topic. All right, so very well done. Let's move on to our next area. This is like the end of the chapter, so we can move to the next chapter, and that will be our chapter number 4. Let's move on to chapter number 4 and have a look what we have here. In chapter number 4, the chapter is called labor cost. Now, before you start the labor cost, let's talk about the chapter overview, what we have here. On the chapter overview, the point we're going to learn from this chapter, the first one is time-based system. Now, time-based system is a very common everywhere, like how many hours you're going to work, and it will multiply how much is per hour for you. Let's say if I work 10 hours, and if the per hour rate is 10 pound, so that will be 100 pound. That will be my basic pay. And that is kind of really common for everyone. So it's like not something we have to discuss more. So per hour is a very common, like if you work 10, then we multiply by per hour rate. If we work 5, so more I work, I'll get more I less I work, I get less. If I don't work, I get zero. It's like a variable cost. So per hour is basically a very common way to pay your employee. So this is number one. We called it basic pay. Now the next thing we normally see that is called overtime. Overtime. Now overtime is like if you work more than your basic hour. Let's say for one day, if your basic hour is 8 hours, now for any reason, if you work 10 hours, so 2 hours is the overtime. So if you work more than your basic hour, that is overtime. Normally, the overtime rate is more than the basic hour rate. So for example, if the basic hour rate is 10, normally the overtime rate will be more than 10. So let's say the overtime rate will be times and half. So we called it time and half. Times and half means, let's say if the rate is 10, so you multiply by 1.5, so that will be 15. Times and half means you multiply the basic rate with 1.5. That will give you the premium rate or overtime rate, number one. Now, there is some little bit complexity we can face if we don't understand the difference. So, for example, if I said 10 hours one employee work in one day and 8 hours is the basic hour. So, of course, you understand 2 hours is overtime. Overtime. And if I said the basic rate is 10 and overtime rate is 10 times and a half, so let's say 15. So, overtime rate and the basic rate. Now, if I try to identify how much is the total payment, the basic payment and the overtime for this employee for this one day, how much it will be. So normally some student, the way they calculate, or maybe I calculate, let's say I said, oh, I worked 10 hours. Out of 10, 8 hours is the basic, so 8 hours will be 8 times 10, that will be 80 pound, and another 2 hours I work, that will be 15 per hour, so that will be 30. So if I work 10 hours one day, I should receive 110 pound. So maybe that will be our calculation. But remember, when we calculate the labor cost from the accounting point of view, we do a little bit different way. So we don't do like that. So rather than doing this way, we said you work 10 hours. So 10 hours time 10. So 100 pound is your basic pay. And the 2 hours you work overtime. And for the overtime, you get 5 pound extra per hour. So that will be 10. So your total payment will be 110. Now the total payment is same anyway, but here I'm saying my basic pay is 80 and overtime is 30. But here I'm saying my basic pay is 100, but overtime is only 10. So we need to follow that, not this calculation. You don't do this calculation for the basic and overtime, because the question will ask you specifically how much is overtime and how much is the basic pay. So you multiply all the hour that you work, the employee work, with the basic rate, and only the additional payment top of the basic pay, that will be considered as overtime. So don't give the overtime with the basic pay. All right, the next point I want to discuss, that is the difference between the direct cost and the indirect cost for the overtime. Now, if the question doesn't say anything, then the overtime will be indirect cost. So if the question doesn't say anything, just the normal working hours and the overtime, Then the overtime you have calculated, that will be the indirect cost. But if the question said for a specific job, if the question used this word specific job, then the overtime will be part of the direct cost. So let's say if the question said there is a specific order, there is a special order from a customer to make one garden, to make one house, to make a unit of pen, to make a shoes. So if the order is specific order from a particular customer, is not I'm making for everyone, I'm not doing for all of this the normal working hour, it's just from one customer, it's a specific order, it's not a common order. So sometimes we call it customize. For example, let's say one of the person called you and said, can you make my garden like this? So they will show you some pictures or maybe some design, and they want exactly like that. So if you said I need 10 hours, so maybe if you use 12 hours, the additional 2 hours you used, that will be not considered as indirect cost. That will be the part of your direct cost. So be careful. If the question don't say anything, so any overtime will be indirect cost. But if the question use this word specific job, then the overtime will be part of your direct cost. The next point I'm going to discuss, that is the piecework system. Now the piecework system is quite common. Piecework system is like when the work is determined by the number of outcome, by the number of outflow. For example, if I said it's not like how many hours you work, rather than how many product you can make. So let's say if I said in 1 hour, if you make 100 pen, so for every pen you will get £1. So let's say in 1 hour, if you make 100, then you will be get £100. In 1 hour, if you just make only one pen, then you will get £1. So it's all up to you how you want to use your hours. So if you can use more efficiently your hours, then you will get more money. So this is called piecework system. The piecework system is the salary or the payment will be depend on number of outcome, number of result, number of unit you have produced, rather than how many hour you used. So more you can make, then more the payment will be. Less you make, less the payment will be. Rather than the time based system is all about how many hours you have worked. If you work 10 hours, then multiply how much is the per hour. If you work 8 hours, how much is the per hour, you multiply with that. But the piecework system not depend on your hour. Doesn't matter how many hour you worked. It's like kind of the Amazon delivery. You see the Amazon, if you work as Amazon delivery driver, they get the payment based on how many delivery they can make. So that's why sometimes you can see when the delivery driver come to your home, they really rush because they are not working how many hours they work. Basically their income depends how many delivery they can make every hour or for the whole day. So for one delivery they get £1. So if they can make 300 delivery, they get £300. So basically this is called piecework system. So some companies they follow piecework, some companies they follow time based system. All right, so let's move on to our next point. What we have here, then we have some bonus. I'm sure more or less you already everyone knows bonus. Some bonus could be relevant to the performance. So if your performance is good, then the company will give you a bonus. Some bonus may be relevant to the target. So especially for the sales and marketing team, if the sales and the marketing team can fulfill the target, they will get the bonus. So it depends like on the company. Some bonus could be the group bonus. So if you work like a team, so if you can if you can fulfill the target, the whole team will get the bonus. Sometimes some company they offer the profit sharing. So if it is a big company, they said every year you will get 5 share from the company. So let's say Morrison, they offer some share to the employee. So if you work in Morrison more than 2 years, so they will give you some share as a bonus to the employee. So you can sell the share later on and you can get the money if you need to, but you can keep the share and later on you can get the dividend. So it's like the company policy, they have a different policy of giving the bonus to the employee. All right, let's move on. Let's have a look. Some example. Let's try the first activity before we go to the break. Let's take let's take a look of activity one, and let's try everyone. Let's see if we can do it or not. So this question is asking overtime premium. Mark work from 8 to 5 with 1 hour lunch break. His normal hour are 9 to 5. So his normal working hour 9 to 5, but he's working 8 to 5. So 1 hour he's working extra with 1 hour lunch break. So don't give the payment for the lunch break until the question said the break is paid. So you don't give the payment for the lunch break. Normally the lunch break is unpaid. His basic wages £15 per hour, and overtime is times and half. Overtime's payment is times and half. Times and half means 1.5. So 15 times 1.5, whatever it is, that will be the rate for overtime payment. So we have a question here. The question here is calculate the basic pay and overtime premium and mark total wages. So of course, if I added the basic pay with um, the overtime, that will give the total pay for Mark. So can we calculate the basic pay? How much is the basic pay and how much is the overtime and how much is the total wages? Linji, what is 100? What is it? Basic pay. Okay. You see there is a lot of different result. There is a lot of different result coming from everyone. So yes, looks good. Paul looks good. Yeah. Sharon, you say basic pay is 105. I don't know how did you get it. So let's have a look. The basic pay. So how many hours basic pay? How many hours is the basic pay? 8 hours. Very well done, Nazia. And 8 hours. How much is the per hour? 15. So how much is the total basic pay? 8 times 15. That is 120. And that's my direct cost. Then I have overtime. How many hours is the overtime? 1 hour. And how much is the overtime I get here? So we have 15 times and half. That's give me overtime per hour. So that will give me how much? 15 times 1.5, 22.50. So if I minus the basic 15, the overtime extra payment I get for 1 hour, that is 7.5. So I said for 1 hour I get 7.5. So 7.5. That's my indirect cost. So 120 plus 7.50, that is 127.50. Okay, so let's have a look. Rate is 120, that's the basic pay. Overtime 7.5, and total is 127.50. Okay, now you can ask me if you have any questions. So the lunch break is unpaid, that's true. So 8 to 5, how many hours is here? 9 hours, isn't it? And from the 9 hours, 1 hour is unpaid. So if I minus that 1 hour, so that will be 8 hours I'm working. Why overtime is 7.5? Because the question said the overtime will be time and half. So if I work any overtime hour, I'll get some extra paid. So that will be times and half. So 15 times and half, that gives me 22 per hour. But this 22.50 is not all overtime. For the overtime, I'm getting only extra 7.5 because 15 is my basic pay anyway. 15 is my salary per hour anyway. So I'm working extra for you 1 hour as overtime. You are not paying 22 as overtime. You are paying me only 7.5 as overtime because other 15 is my basic pay. If I work any hour, I get 15 anyway. Uh, It is, Luis. You have to make sure you separate it because the basic pay is 120 and the basic pay is the direct cost. Maybe your total will be same 127, but you have to split the overtime and the basic pay because basic pay is a direct cost, but overtime is indirect cost. So both will go to different place, so you have to know the difference. So the last hour, 1 hour extra he is working, he's not getting 22 pound 50 pence as overtime. He is getting only 7.5 as overtime. So overtime means extra payment, what you're getting top of your basic pay, because he's getting 15 anyway, isn't it? Still anyone have confused? Normal hour is 9 to 5, yes. So 8 to 5 is 9, 1 hour is a break. So how many hours left? 8 hours, isn't it? So Sharon, if you see 8 to 5 is 9 hours. So from 9 hours, if you minus 1 hour, how many hours left? 8 hours. So you times by 15, that's the basic pay. And 1 hour extra working, for 1 hour get the overtime, that is 7.5. He getting extra only 7.5. So this is basically the overtime. He's supposed to work 7 hours every day, 9 to 5, not 8. Any more question from anyone? All right, so let's take a break then, and make sure you write your name. If you don't write your name, you're not going to get the recorded lesson. So make sure you write your name so that they can see it. You are on the class and they will give you the access to the video. Let's start with the next activity we have. So let's try activity 2. This one is saying the job 146. That means this question relevant to one job, one specific job. We already discussed that before. If the question mentioned there is a specific job, if the question said there is a specific job, the overtime will be treated as a direct cost. So let's have a look. Total direct labor hour worked, basic hour, basic wages rate, overtime premium 25% of the basic rate. That is a requirement. They're asking calculate the direct labor cost of job 146, assuming that overtime is worked at the specific request of the customer. So if the overtime is for the specific request for the customer, the overtime will be treated as a direct cost. So basic pay, overtime premium, direct labor cost, job 146 total. So let's get the total basic pay and total overtime and total cost. So let's calculate that. The first we can see total direct labor hour worked 45,000. So 45,000 times 7, that will give us the total cost for the labor hour worked. So let's do that. So we have 45,000 times 7, that give us 315,000. And the basic hour is 12. So that means any difference is the overtime. So 45,000 minus 12, and the rest of the difference is the overtime. So how many hours we have of the overtime? 33,000. 33,000 hours. And they said the overtime will be 25% of the basic rate. So 7 times 25%. Let's get the rate for the overtime. So how much it is? 7 times 25%. That will give you the overtime per hour. So 7 times 25%, that's 1.75. So if I do 33,000, 1.75, that will give me the overtime. That is how much? 57,750. So 57,750. Very well done, Wong. Very well done, Paul. So this is my overtime, and that's my basic pay. And if I added dash 2, that will give me the total cost. So let's write the basic pay, that is 315. The overtime 57,750, and the total is 372,750. That's really easy. All I have to do, I have to multiply with the total hours, the overtime, and the basic pay. If I added these two, that will give me the total. Any question from here before we move to the next one? All right, let's move on. Let's do the next one, activity 3. In activity 3, it says the following information relate to the skill level cost incurred in producing 500,000 unit of component C. That's the unit 500,000 and the component called C during January 2006. Normal time work 5,000, okay. Overtime 2,000. Overtime at double. So overtime we have a times and a half. So first 2,000 is time and a half. The next 1,000 is double. Normal time hourly rate 10 per hour. Overtime premium paid are included as a part of direct labor cost. So they are saying the overtime will be the part of the direct cost. So we really don't have to separate how much it is. So we can get the calculation. That will be fine. So let's say normal rate is 5,000. So I said 5,000 times 10. And then we have a 2,000. They said times and half. So 10 times 1.5. And we have 1,000. That is 2. This is 10, isn't it? Times 2. So double. So that will give you the total cost. So this is the basic, this is time and half, and this 1000 they said double. So let's do that. So we said um you can do 15. Yes, Sharon, is the same result. I just make it break it down to make you understand. If you understand, you can do 15, of course. So I said 500,000 or 50,000, sorry, 50,000. Here I have 30,000. Here I have 20,000. If I added all of this, that gives me 100,000. Very well done, Nazia. So 100,000 is the total direct labor cost, 100,000. And they said per unit. So all I need to do, I need to divide by 500,000, the total unit. So 500,000. And that will give you per unit, that is 20 pence. Thank you, Sharon. So it's 20 pence. That's it. Any question from here? All right, so let's move on to the next topic. The next topic we have, that is idle time. Idle time is the time when employees they get paid without doing any work. For example, you are working in an office and suddenly your computer stops working. Now this is not your fault, but obviously the time you spend it on the work will get paid for that. Let's say you work in a factory and suddenly the machine is break down, suddenly the power is cut, there is no electricity. For any reason, if you cannot carry on your work, but you still get paid, so whatever money you get paid without working, that is called uh, uh, idle time. Uh, I'm not sure. Asim, can we say this one as a idle time? Like when someone TFL go for a strike. So I cannot give any comment on that. Maybe it is idle time, maybe not. I'm not sure. Okay. So the piecework system. The piecework system is when you work based on the output, not actually how many hours you work. So number of output, number of unit you have produced, maybe your payment will be depend on that. So let's have a look. Is there any example we have? So we have a one activity for the piecework system. Let's try to calculate how much is the gross pay for the piecework system. The question here is saying piecework system not hourly based. Simon Sue pockets in a tailoring factory. Okay, he is paid 10p for every pocket up to 4,000 a week. So if he can make 4,000 up to, per pocket is 10 pence. Thereafter, he receive an extra 2p per pocket for every extra 500. So the next 500 is 2 pence extra, so that will be 12 pence. Then 4,500 pocket include 4,000 pocket for 10 and 500 for 12. Okay, anything after 4,500, that will be 14p. Okay, so 4,501, start from 4,501. So if we can make more than 4,500, so that will be 14 pence. So I said anything extra, that will be 14 pence. So we need to see how many pocket he sews for a week. So you can see 1 week he sew 4,730. So let's find it out. How much is the difference? First 4,000 is 10 pence. The next 500 is 12 pence. And the last one is how much? 230. Okay. So 230 is 14 pence. So if we do that, that will give us the total. So I think that will be, if we multiply that, that will be 400. How much will be that? 500 times 500 times 12 pence, 60, and 230 times 14 pence, 32.2. And if I added all of this, how much it is? 492.20. Thank you, Wong. 492.20. So 492.20. Any question from here before we move to the next question? That's really straightforward, so shouldn't be difficult. All right, let's move on to the next activity we have. This one kind of the theory based course question, so let's quickly do that. So activity 5, remuneration system. Remuneration means the salary basically. For each of the statement in the table below, one of the highlighted word will relate to the time rate remuneration system and the other to the piecework remuneration system. So one will be with the time work, one with the piecework. So we have to choose from here, like the bold letter we have, the bold word we have. So we have to say which one go to the time rate and which one go to the piecework. For example, the first one, it says easy or complicated to calculate the employee pay. So in the time rate, is it easy or complicated? On the piecework, is it easy or complicated? So we start with the first one. So which one, what do you think for the time rate? For the time rate, is it easy or complicated? Time rate is quite easy, isn't it? I will ask you how many hours you work. I'll multiply with the rate. So that's easy. So I said that's easy. And the piecework little bit complicated. Then the next one we have, that is can or cannot be used for all direct employee. So time rate can or cannot be used for all direct labor employees. What do you think? Is it can or cannot be? It can be, isn't it? Can be, yes. And the piecework will be cannot be. So can't. All right, the next one. More efficient worker are paid more than or the same as less efficient worker. So in the time rate, it will be more than or the same as. The same as, isn't it? Because if you are very efficient, if I'm not efficient, because it's hourly rate, you sitting and I'm sitting, maybe I'm more efficient, maybe you are more efficient, but the hourly rate is £10 for both. So 1 hour is gone, company will pay you 10 hour to both person. Doesn't matter how efficient you are. So piecework more than. And in piecework, maybe you're efficient in 1 hour, you make more unit and you get more money. Then the next one we have, the quality of the goods produced is or is not affected by the worker being tempted to rush a job so that they can earn more. Of course, like when there is the hourly rate, we are not very rush, isn't it? But when there is a piecework, we are in rush because we want to do more so that we can get more. So he said is not the first one. And the next one is. The next one we have the employee pay fluctuate or remain same if output is fluctuate. So if the output or if the unit produced it is more, so it is fluctuate, if it is not fluctuate. So for the time For the time rate, it remains same. Doesn't matter how many unit you make, your hourly rate will be same. But for the piecework, it will be fluctuate. If you can make more unit, you get more. Next one, more supervisor or more inspector may be needed for the system. So for the time rate, we need supervisor or inspector. We need supervisor because someone is the manager who will look after the team. But for the piecework, need to check the work, like the work you have done. Let me check how qualityful it is. So we need more inspector for the piecework. Next one, production problem can or cannot be lead to cut pay. So production problem, we said cannot for the time rate. We'll get the paid anyway. But here the piecework, if I cannot make, I'll not get money. So obviously that will have effect on my pay. The next one, we have system do not need to set up to check the amount of work produced by each employee. Do or do not. So time rate, do not, and piecework, do. So we have to have a system to check the work produced by employee. So we need to send the piecework how many you have done. In the time rate, we just check the hours, so we don't have to worry about it. So this is just understanding, it's not something difficult. So let's move on to the next question. The next question, we have activity 6. Let's have a look this activity. It says T limited. A standard working week at T limited is 37.5 hours. So standard week, every week one employee should work 37.5 hours. Any hours worked over or above the standard working hours, that will be considered as overtime, and that payment will be time and half. So if an employee for the whole week, if someone work more than 37.5 hours, that will be considered as overtime, and the overtime rate will be time and half. All overtime is worked at the specific request for a customer. That means the overtime will be considered as a direct cost because we are making the product only for one specific customer. The hourly wages rate is £8.50, so this is the per hour rate. The expected production rate is 24 unit per hour. So every hour we're expecting every employee will make 24 unit. In any one day, if this target is exceeded, so if someone can make more than the targeted unit, the employee will receive a bonus equal to half of the hourly rate for the additional hour worth of production. It's a very, very tricky word. So if someone can make more than the targeted unit, so they will get some bonus, but the bonus will be depends how many unit they made extra and how much they will get based on that unit. For example, if someone make 5 unit extra, so he will get only bonus for the 5 unit, not for the whole unit. Bonus cannot be directly attributed to a particular cost unit. So the bonus will be indirect cost, but the overtime will be the direct cost. Okay, let's have a look. The requirement: complete the following wages calculation sheet, calculating for each day overtime payment, the bonus payable, the total wages for the day, calculate the total wages payable for the week worked two decimal places. Okay, so you're talking about one employee. The employee name is James D. Clock number H3, that's the employee number. Work began 9 June 2006. All right, so we have to calculate the direct wages, indirect wages, and the total wages. Let's do that. So let's start with the first. You have a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Total standard pay. So hour work, then standard pay, overtime hours, overtime payment, unit produce, extra unit, bonus payable, total payable for the day. Okay, let's start with the first one. So we have 7.5 hours on Monday. And first we need to see how many hours the employee should work one day. So 37.5 for the whole week. So 37.5 for the 1 week. So for if I divide by 5, that will give me how many hours they should work one day. That is 7.5 hours. So that means if someone work 7.5 hours, there is no overtime. This is the normal hour they should work. Okay, and the per hour they will get 8.50 per hour, and the bonus is half of the hourly rate, half of the hourly rate. So if I divide by 2, that will give me the half. So 850 divide 2 is a 425. That is the bonus rate. So if I want to get a bonus, that will be £4.25 per hour. Then the overtime is time and a half. So overtime rate 850 times 1.50. So how much it is? 8.5 times 1.5, 1275. Thank you, Nazia. 12.75 per hour. That's overtime. We are doing all the workings because if we uh, scroll down, maybe we're not going to see the question. So that's why we try to do some workings. Now let's have a look. Hopefully you have the information. Let's do from Monday. So standard payment, how much will be the standard payment here? Can you do that? 7.5, and the per hour will be 8.50. That will give you the total. So that is how much? 63.75. Thank you, Sharon. So 63.75. That is the way you calculate it. 7.5 hours, and per hour is 8.50. 63.75. Overtime hours. Do we have any overtime hours in Monday? Because he is supposed to work 7.5 and he works 7.5. There is no overtime hours. So we said it is 0. Overtime payment. If there is no overtime hours, he will not get any overtime payment. So that will be also 0. Now, the next point here is how many unit James produced? 191. So I need to identify how many unit James supposed to produce and how many he produced actually. So the question said every hour James should produce 24 unit. So for 7.5 hours times 24 unit per hour, so James should produce how many? 180 unit. But we can see James actually produced 191. So he fulfilled the target and he make more than that. So how many unit he produce extra? Because the bonus will be depend on that, isn't it? The bonus will be depend on that. So I can say James produce 11 unit. So up to here, we are fine. Now I want all of you to a little bit careful for the bonus calculation because it could be tricky in the exam. So let's have a look how we calculate the bonus. So first we need to identify how many minutes we need to make 11 unit. So let's say in 60 minutes we can make 24 unit. So how much minute or how much time we need for 1 unit? So 60 divide 24, it will give us to make 1 unit how many minutes we need. So 60 divide 24, that is 2.5 minute we need to make 1 unit. So for 11 unit, how many minute we need? 20.5 times 11. For 11 unit, James need how many minute? So 2.5 times 11, that is 27.5. So 27.5 minute James need to make 11 unit. Now how much bonus he deserve? The bonus is 4.25, but for the whole hour, for 1 hour is £4.25, but James only used 27.5 minute. So I need to convert this one into minute as well. So I said 4.25 pound for 60 minute. So how much is the per minute? I'll get that and I'll multiply with the 27.5, and that will give us the bonus. So this is the hourly bonus and this is the minute. So obviously that will give you 194 something. So we can take 195, 195. And I want all of you to check again and just have any question, tell me, because this one I have seen in so many students in the exam, they found it so difficulty. So make sure you have the calculation on your calculator and you have this figure with you so that I can confirm you understand it. So once you have the bonus, then we can have a total payable for the day. So we need to add all of this. So we can add the standard pay and we can add the bonus. That will be the total payment. You can round up. Yes, you can round up to the next number. If it is more than 5, you can increase 1. If you don't increase, still you get the same mark. So but it's better to round up because the question said 2 decimal, so that's why I'm following the 2 decimal. How did you get 195? So all you need to do, Nazia, so we have 4.25, that's for the 1 hour hourly bonus rate. So for the 60 minute, if I divide with the 60 minute, that will give me the bonus per minute. And James used 27.5 minutes. So if you multiply with that, the result you have, that will give you 1.95. So if I added all of this for the payment of Monday, it will be 65.70. Thank you, Abdi. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Nazia. Okay, so obviously, like this bonus calculation could be tricky, as I said. Make sure you understand it. All right. So the next one we have Tuesday. Let's talk about Tuesday. How much will be the basic pay for the Tuesday? Standard pay. So let's do that. Remember, standard pay will be same always because anything extra you work more than 7.5, that will be the overtime. Don't forget that. Anything you work more than 7.5 hours, that will be overtime. So your basic pay remains same. The standard pay remains same. So that will be 63.75 anyway. But this time you work zero point 0.5 hours extra, isn't it? So on the overtime hours, I'm going to write 0.5 hours. And how much will be the overtime payment here? Yes, Abdi, yes, Nazia, yes, we need to multiply that with the 12.75 because the overtime rate is times and half that we have calculated here, 12.75 per hour. So for the half hour, how much it will be? 6.375. So we take 6.38 because the question said take the two decimal. So 6.38. 6.38. Now again we have the bonus issue here. So how many unit is extra here? So in 8 hours, he's supposed to make how many unit? 8 times 24. So he should make and find the difference. How much is extra? Is it 5? Very good. 5 unit he made extra. Now if he made 5 unit extra, how much will be the bonus for that? Can anyone calculate that the way we did before? So here we need to multiply with 5 now. So 2.5 multiply 5, that will give you the minute, and after that the result we have here, we multiply with that, that will give you the bonus. How much it is? So 88 pence. So after 0.88, what it is? So should we make 88 or should we make 0.89? We have to check that, because if the third number is 5 or more, you added one extra, the question said take the two decimal, so make sure you consider that. So all you need to do, you have to follow the same step. 60 divide 24, so obviously that will give you 2.5 per unit. So for the 5 unit, not 11, this time we'll multiply by 5, and whatever the result, we have the bonus rate, we get it from here, we multiply with that, that will give you the same number. What is that? It is 5p, Sharon, the bonus. So 88.54, so we can take 89. Yes, Justina, we can take 89. So we said 89 pence, 0.89. The same way you did that one, you can do the same way. So here, you see this 11 unit was before for the first one, isn't it extra? This time you put here 5, that's it. So 2.5 times 5, whatever it is, that's your minute. And after that, 4.25 divide 60 per minute times whatever it is here. That's it. Very good. So if I added all of this, how much is the total we have? 63.75 plus 6.38 plus the bonus 89 pence. So how much will be the total payment for the Tuesday? So 63.75 plus 6.38 plus 0.89 pence, 71.02. Thank you, Daniel. 71.02. Very good, Amand. Very good, Venal. Then the next one we have Wednesday. On the Wednesday, standard pay is same anyway, that is 63.75. Find the overtime. How many hours is the overtime for Wednesday? 1.5, because 7.5 is the standard, so he worked 9 hours. So difference is the overtime, 1.5. Now how much will be the payment for the overtime? Per hour is 12.75. So how much will be the overtime for 1.5 hours? 19.13. 19.13. Very good. And extra unit. How many extra unit is here? So 9 hours he works. Every hour he should make 24 unit. So 9 times 24 and minus 2 to 5. So you need to see how many unit he make extra here. 9 unit. Very well done, Mohammed. So 9 unit he make extra. And the final question, that's the tricky one. How much will be the bonus for the 9 extra unit? The same way we did before. So 2.5 per minute. So times 9 minutes, it will give you the total minute. And after that, you multiply with that 4.25 over 60, whatever it is. You multiply this and that will give you the result. 1.59. Very well done. 1.59. And the total payment for Wednesday, James, will be 84.47. Okay, 84.47. Very good. Thank you, Alicia. Then you have a Thursday. We do the same thing. The standard pay is same anyway, 63.75. And how much is the overtime here? 8.5 minus 7.5. The overtime is 1 hour. The payment for the 1 hour will be how much? 12.75. And the next one is the extra unit. So 8.5 hours. Every hour is 24 unit. So 8.5 times 24. So how many unit he should make, produce, and how many units he actually make? Is he make any extra? He didn't make any extra, so obviously that will be 0. And we are not going to pay any bonus, isn't it? If you don't make extra, you don't get bonus. So for him, the Thursday payment will be only the overtime and the basic pay, and that will be 76.5. Thank you, Wong. 76.5. Very well done, Kiran. And last to the Friday one. Standard pay same, 63.75. Overtime, how many hours is overtime here? 2 hours. And how much will be the overtime payment? 25.5. Very well done. 25.50. Extra, is there an extra unit here for 9.5 hours? 17 unit extra. Very well done. 17 unit extra. And the last one, the tricky one, bonus. How much is the bonus for the 17 unit? 3.01. Thank you, Thidora. 3.01. Very well done. And finally, how much is the total payment for Friday? How much we should pay on Friday for this employee? 92.26. All right, 92.206 or 26. So check yourself. So that's it. So let's add all of this. The standard pay, if I added all of this, so you can multiply basically 63.75 times 5. That will give you the total for the whole week. It's all right, Hidora. So let's have a look. How much is the total we have for the whole week? 318.75. Okay, 318.75. You really don't have to add one by one. You can multiply because the every day have the same payment. So multiply by 5, it will give you same result. Overtime payment. Can we add the overtime payment? We find how much is overtime. Not the hours. We're just looking for the amount, Kiran. So how much it is if I added all the overtime. So 6.38, 19.13, 12.75, 25.50. So 63.76 should be 63.76, 63.76. All right, thank you, Abdi. Thank you, Nazia. So let's move on to the bonus. How much is the bonus payment? 1.95, 0.89, 1.59, and 3.01. Maybe my handwriting is not very clear, so sometimes the total could be different. So please check 7 point. So we have 7.44, 7.44. And if I added all of this, how much will be the total? The standard, the overtime in the bonus. So this, and this. The total of these three, 389, 389.95. Thank you, Alicia. Thank you, Nazia. So we can see only the bonus is the indirect cost, the question said. So that is 7.44. The total is 389.95. So the direct wages will be the overtime and the standard pay. You can add it these two, or you can minus from the total 7.44. That will give you the same figure anyway. So if you find the difference, that will be 382.51. Thank you, Kiran. Thank you, Nazia. Yes, that's it. So I did this question really slow, intentionally, so that you understand it. And I wanted everyone to participate, try to do some calculation, because this type of question will be in the exam. And if you do some practice, that will help you to remember in the exam. So make sure you do some practice. And of course, like later on, if you need to revise this question, you can do it because you have this lecture recorded. So hopefully, like if you need any help to this question, you can always watch again and try to solve. And after that, if you have a still question, you can email me and I'll try to explain from there as well. All right, so let's move on to our next question. There is a lot of explanation. You can read this thing, that will be helpful for you to understand from this chapter. Let's move on to our next chapter. Still we have 15 minutes. Let's see how far we can do from there. The next chapter we have, that is allocation and apportionment. Now this chapter is basically allocating the overhead. Overhead means the indirect cost. The cost maybe cannot directly allocate to one department. For example, let's say in a factory, we have an office, we have a sales team, we have a production space, we have a accountant office, we have admin office. So let's say everyone use the gas and electricity, the business rates. So now when the gas electricity bills come, and if you give all this cost to the production department only, so that will be not very fair, because other department like the sales and marketing, maybe the admin department, maybe the canteen, they are not bearing any cost. So that should be split equally based on a certain condition, certain factors, uh, certain what's that called, anything that basically make it more accurate. For example, if I said, let's say if I said this is a This is a building area. Let's say this is a factory. That's the factory area. And the total heat and light cost is £100. Now out of this, let's say this area for the production, this area for the canteen, this area for the admin. So obviously, if this £100 heating and lighting, if you put here on the production only, so these two department will be not suffer for the cost of heating and lighting, and that will be unfair. So now if I ask all of you to split this £100 to these three department, how are you going to split it? So you will tell, I want to check who is using how many square meter. So how big the building is. So I want to see if someone use more square meter, so they have to pay more heating cost. If someone use less square meter or less space, they have to pay less heating cost. So I would say maybe 60% cost will go here, then maybe 25% here, or 15% here. So based on the square meter, we can find it out exactly how much cost which department should bear. So when we can directly allocate any cost, we called it allocation. For example, if there is any cost for the production, we directly allocate to the production. If there is a specific cost for the canteen, we give to canteen. But if this is a council tax, if this is a heat and lighting, so this cost doesn't belongs to any specific department. On that case, we have to do it apportionment. So allocation mainly when we can allocate the cost directly to a specific department. On the other hand, the apportionment that cannot be allocated directly, so we have to use some basis, and that will help us to apportion the cost over the different department or spread the cost between or among the different departments. So let's have a look what we have here. So we have some costing method here. The first one we're going to see, that is called absorption costing. We're not going to read anything from this chapter because absorption costing, we have a different complete chapter. We will learn what is absorption costing from that chapter. From this chapter, we're going to see the allocation and the apportionment. So we will see everything that is relevant to allocation and the apportionment. So the first one, we have allocate the direct cost to the unit. As I said, if I know that cost directly relevant to that department, so I can directly allocate the cost, and that is called allocation. Then we have allocate and apportion overhead to the cost center. So you have to find the specific cost center. There, the cost is relevant. So you find the overhead and split the cost between those departments. Then reapportion service cost overhead. Now this one is little bit tricky because reapportion means I already apportion the cost. For example, let's say the cost is £100. Now I have a four department, X, Y, A, and B. Now X and Y is the production department, and A and B is the service department. Now all of this cost 100 will go equally to all this department. Let's say for the X is 25, for the Y is 25, for the A is 25, and for the B is 25. Total is 100. Now the question is, the production department make the product, and actually they sell the product to the customer and they pay for that. But the service department, they just provide the service and they don't have any income at all. For example, let's say if you buy something from Argos, and let's say you buy a computer, Now, the store you're buying from, the store don't have an income because store is there to give you the service. You are the customer. The store is there so that you can get some service from the store, but the store itself don't have an income. Income come from the product. So if you buy the computer, and if the company make a profit, 10 pound or 100 pound, the profit will come from selling the product, not because of the store. The store is a facility that given by the Argos. So store is basically the service. So you get some service from the Argos. There is some branches, there is some stores, but actually the profit will come from the product. So what I mean the service department don't have any income. Service department only have cost. Now let's say the X and Y is a two product, and let's say this product selling making like 1 million and 1 million. This is their income, and the profit come from there. Now who going to bear the cost for service? Now let's say if Argos said I sell a computer and the profit is 20 pound. And if you ask Argos who going to pay the rent for the store, who going to pay the guarantee that you give to the product, if something is not working, someone need to repair it, who is going to pay for that? Who going to pay the staff working in the store? Because this one don't have an income. The people who give the service, the reason is the Argos is there. If there is no Argos, there will be no store. So store is only there to give the services because they will selling the product. So all the service department cost at the end have to bear by the production department. So let's say this selling product X and Y, the profit is 100 pound. By selling X and Y, the profit is 100 pound. So after deducting all the expense for the X and Y, the total profit is 100. But if you don't consider the service department cost, that is 25 plus 25 50, so who going to actually pay the rent for the store? So actually Argos going to pay the rent for the store for the Argos because the store have no income at all. So this 50 you have to minus from here at the end, and your actual profit will be 50, not 100. So what we understand from here, the service department cost, the service department cost later on have to be given to the production department. So whatever the service department cost we have, that cannot be bear by the service department. The cost has to be allocate or apportion to the production department. For example, let's say if you have an office, if you have a production center, and they have a canteen as well, and they give uh, free breakfast or free lunch to the employee. Now the canteen department, they have a cost. Now who going to bear this cost? Like, obviously the canteen don't have an income because they don't charge to the employee. So at the end, all this canteen department cost have to be covered from the production department. So this is a thing we're going to do from here as well. All the service department cost, all the maintenance cost, later on we have to allocate to the production department. So this one we're going to see maybe next week. So if you have a time, have a look this chapter so that next week we can focus on this chapter and try to do all this question from here. I did really slow for chapter number 4 today because this question I want all of you to understand. So make sure you do some revise, and next week maybe we'll go a little bit fast. So I'll advise all of you, if you can read little bit in advance, that will help us to do the question bit fast. So that will be help us to finish the chapter really quick, because we have a certain limit. We have to complete the class maybe within 7 lesson. So we'll try to go a little bit faster. Maybe next week, if you'll take a little bit preparation, that will be helpful for all of us to do the question bit fast. All right, so we'll start this chapter next week, and We'll start from chapter number 5 next week, and we'll complete this chapter. We'll move to the next chapter later on. So just do some practice whatever you have done today and before, so that we can carry on. And later on, maybe if you have any question, you can ask me with the email. The books, of course, you can buy the books from Amazon if you have it.